There's never been a better time to have Sirius XM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy a favorite shows with Sirius XM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
When it comes to the source unit category, the team at Alpine this year have been on absolute fire, coming out with one new product after the next. We're talking new application-specific products. We're talking a brand new high-res source unit and a brand new series of product altogether. Alpine seems unstoppable this year, and we're excited to have them on. We've got Dan Greenwood joining us in the studio, giving us the rundown on all things going on with Alpine in the source unit category. This is CMA Connected, presented by Sirius XM, Alpine, and it starts now. Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in to another session of CMA Connected, presented by Sirius XM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Now, I'm not kidding. When I said Alpine is on fire this year, I legit mean it is crazy how much product that they are coming out with, and it is exciting, innovative stuff. We've had the chance to sneak peek that back in the spring when we sat down with Eric Brooks. He showed us a couple goods in the Jeep category, and then Knowledge Fest happened, and they dropped this whole new status lineup. And then we got Dan to come in to talk about some DSP. Well, we got Dan to come back in today, and we're going to focus on the source unit offering because there's a lot of tricks that Alpine have up their sleeve. I think you dealers out there are going to be quite impressed with what Alpine has to offer. Before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and invite our Canadian distributor friends over at Gentech International. Of course, I'm talking about their brand manager, Mr. Nima Jalovan. What's going on, Nima?
Hey, Ben, how are you? Excited to be here, man.
I don't know what it is about talking about source units. It's kind of like it's where it all begins. You know, when we're growing up in car audio, what's the first thing we want to change?
Our head units.
The head units, a radio. Now, for some of us, that might have been cassette decks. For some of us, that might have been CDs. For some of us, it might have been that flip screen that everybody's freaking out on back in the day. That's kind of changed a bit, and I think Alpine is leading the way on several different fronts when it comes to innovating the source unit category.
So you named it. Alpine's always been the innovator in head units, especially. So we have brand new Halo units this year that are out, a brand new series of speakers, subwoofers. So a lot of brand new products that we've launched this year, and I'm so happy to be able to spend today time with Dan and yourself and go through some of our top brand new products that we've launched and or that are coming soon.
Amazing. God, guys, strap in, take some notes, because seriously, there's a lot to cover today. Let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and bring in our product expert. His name is Dan Greenwood. He's a brand manager over at Alpine, and he's got the goods. What's going on, Dan? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me.
I gotta say, it was quite inspiring, your last presentation here when it came to the brand new Status DSP. Now we're talking about, yes, Status is going to be part of our conversation today. But before we get there, I mean, help me, give me a comment on what I'm saying. You guys, what happened all of a sudden out of nowhere? It's like left new product, another new product, and another one. It's crazy.
Well, we don't really we take our time when developing a new product. So a lot of this stuff has been many years in the making, and with everything going on in the world, of course, some things got delayed and pushed back. So we're kind of in the middle of that perfect storm of just all this new stuff coming out. So it's been very exciting for us, and we're happy to go over it with you guys.
Well, we are very excited to have you on here. Can you give us a quick overview of what dealers can expect in your presentation today?
Yeah, so I'm going to go over all the new head units that have already started shipping and some that are not quite shipping yet. We're going to go over the feature set, what makes them unique, some of the internal components of what makes them sound the way they do, because of course it's an Alpine. It's got to have that classic Alpine good sound. And we're also going to kind of go over what restyle offerings we have for Jeep, as well as what you already alluded to. There is a Status head unit, but we'll save that towards the end.
Man, that piece is fire. I can't wait to talk to you about that. All right. Without further ado, Dan, I'm going to go ahead and pass you over the mic, so to speak, so that we can get in on everything new at Alpine in the source unit category. Here you go.
Well, thank you very much. So, like Ben said, we're going to be talking about Alpine and specifically our N-Dash solutions. So, for you, those of you who have been aware lately in the last several months, we've launched a few new radios, our what we call display audio, which is our multimedia head unit, so your CarPlay, Android Auto, all that fun stuff. And we're going to go over those in detail. But first, I want to start off with what makes them unique and some of the internal technology and components that are being used in these new head units. So, first off, we're offering a fully digital power IC. It's the world's first done in car, as well as using an LED circuit and the power supply. We'll go over that a little bit here in a second, as well as what type of digital coils and just overall the high-end componentry that's inside of all of our new head units. So, first we'll start looking at the full digital power IC. And I'm going to keep this real high level just so I don't lose anybody. But the whole idea behind this is just to reduce noise and have a smoother sound. So anytime you have some kind of digital power supply that's modulating, you always have to some type of filtration and all that. Any kind of digital power supply can create noise. The idea here is to minimize what kind of noise is being generated to give us better sound. And of course, something that I thought was pretty unique, and inside of the power supplies of the new head units, we're actually using a red LED in place of a diode. Now, for those of you who are a little bit nerdy like me and know that the D in LED actually stands for diode, we found that using a red LED actually helped highly reduce noise being emitted from the power supply. So that is something that is also very unique to us, and it's the first time we've ever done it. And just having that and of course the digital coils, which help minimize the unwanted harmonics due to phase shifting. You compile these components together, and you're just going to end up having a really great sounding source unit, because no matter how great of a system you build up in the car, it's only as good as source sounds, right? And so we're going to make sure that all the components we have in there are the best, and also we want to make sure, going along the lines of the source being as good as the sound can be in the car, we're also going to give you high-res audio full support here as well. So the new head units that we'll talk about first, they're going to be 24-bit 96K, the internal sampling. So they're going to be fully capable of playing up to that sample rate. Now they can read files that are a little bit higher, and that's okay. It'll just down sample, but it'll still sound great. And for those of you like streaming through wireless, it does have the wireless, the HD streaming as well. So we'll go into that here more with a head unit a little further down. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you look at our new head units is the display is much brighter, much more vivid, much sharper than it used to be. And that's because we've gone to a full HD display. So before we were only 480p, now we're up to 720p. And on the size that screen size that small, it actually makes a world of difference. But also, it's going to really help making out what's on the screen in direct sunlight, and it's just in a car, it's just a lot easier to see, a lot sharper, a lot more pleasant. And it's the first thing that I noticed when I first saw the new head unit in action. So we'll talk about the new head units right now. So what's really cool is the feature set that I'm going to go over here in a moment is the same across all of these head units. So all the power IC, digital power IC, and the red LED power supply, high-res audio, HD screen, all that stuff, and all the features, they're identical across all three of these head units. So we're going to have the Ilx 507, the Ilx F509, which is the 9-inch floating display, and then the Ilx F511, which is an 11-inch floating display. And the only difference is across these three head units is just the size of the screen. Everything else is going to be identical. So it's going to help keep it real easy to remember what all these radios can do. And you're not going to sacrifice any features if you go down in screen size. So going into the features, for like we talked about before, we're high-res audio compliant, and we also have that HD screen. But the big feature that everyone's been asking for a long time is wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. We do have full support for both, and it works fantastic. It is super fast, super smooth, and I'll tell you, once you get used to having wireless CarPlay, you cannot go back. It's pretty awesome. And of course, it's going to have full support for Sirius XM. And another cool feature that's in our new head unit and our new platform is it actually is updatable. So down the road, we are going to have updates that will be adding more features to these radios. And one of those new features that's going to come is going to be the new Sirius XM 360L, which is a whole new interface and it's a complete game changer. And once it launches, it's going to be really cool. And what's really exciting for us is we're actually partnered directly with Sirius XM on this new interface. And if anyone wants it, it's going to be first on Alpine. We're going to be exclusive at first, so it's going to be really cool. We're also going to have future support for Amazon Echo. I don't want to say her name because it might trigger her right now, but we'll have support for that as well as Tidal. So there'll actually be a native Tidal app. So if you use the data off your phone, you can launch Tidal on your head unit and actually have the full resolution Tidal playback instead of it being compressed down through CarPlay. So it's pretty cool. And of course, just like everything else you're going to expect, you'll have iData Link Maestro support. We're going to touch more on the EQ, but it is a 13-band parametric EQ, and I'll go into that here in just a moment. Of course, you'll have HDMI input and output. There's now 2 USB ports. Right now, one of them is dedicated to charging only, while the other does data. Down the road, we'll have an update to make them both do data, but right now the charging only is great because you can just use that with your phone and you're already using wireless Android Auto or CarPlay and you need to charge your phone anyway. You have a port there ready to go. Another really cool, exciting feature is on top of just only having the rear camera input, we also added a secondary camera input, which can be used as a front or a side. You can set it up in the software, in the interface, whatever way you want. And both of those plugs are actually the Alpine plugs for our Alpine direct cameras, like the C1100, for example, will actually plug directly into the camera input of this. We also do give you a pigtail with an RCA plug if you're using a factory integration or anything like that. Now, for those of you who like to use our multi-view cameras, those also plug directly in to the head unit. You don't have to run any external cables or power or extra modules or buttons or anything like that. That all can be done on screen and controlled on screen. Very smooth, very flawless. It's pretty awesome. There's also an additional camera input meant for our dash cam, which I'll go into that here in just a moment, as well as the option to add built-in navigation. So we'll talk about that here in just a second as well. So talking about the new sound tuning. So one of the new changes we made in the head unit in our new interface is our sound screen is now just a drop-down menu from the home screen, and you don't have to go into a separate general settings, audio, or anything like that to get to any of these features. Now you just hit the down arrow, and all the audio features are all on one screen, real easy to find, and it's pretty awesome. So to start with, you'll always have a shortcut to go right back to whatever source you're listening to. You can see a live feed of what like album art's playing of whatever you're listening to, as well as your main battery voltage. You'll have controls right there for your subwoofer or bass and treble, whichever you want on screen, as well as being able to access all the other audio features that you're used to seeing on Alpine, like your media expander, your bass engine SQ. You can also get into your time correction, crossover, fade, balance, all that. Now, one thing that's going to be really cool about these new head units is, like I talked about before, is the EQ. So now we're offering a 13-band parametric EQ, and that's actually per channel, so not just for front and rear. You actually get that for front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and subwoofer. All 5 outputs have a dedicated 13-band parametric EQ. So with that, in conjunction with time correction and the crossovers, if you really think about it, you actually have pretty much a full-blown DSP built right into the head unit. So you can really get a car dialed in just by using all the features built into the head unit. For those customers that don't want to spring the extra money for a DSP, but they still want better sound, you can do that. And just so you're aware, all those settings that if you set up, there are 3 presets built into the radio. So all you have to do is just hold the preset, whichever number you want to save it to, just like a radio preset, and it'll actually save all your settings in a non-volatile memory built into the head unit. So if a customer changes out the battery or loses power for whatever reason, all your settings aren't lost forever. All you have to do is just recall that preset and you're up and running again. So we talked about dash cam. So our Dvr C320r Dash Cam, which we've had out for a little while now, has the direct capability of plugging into this head unit. And it'll also give you it'll give you the a live feed of both cameras, as well as being able to go in and check all the settings of the camera. So if you ever, for those of you who set up the camera on the app and you've gone through and you set up recording events, all that, you can actually do all that on screen. So you don't even need to use the app anymore. And you can go through all your settings. You can check previous recordings. And if you're using all the safety features built in, like the lane departure assisting, collision avoidance, all that stuff, all those features will, on top of the camera just beeping, and it'll actually get a notification on the screen of what is happening. So if you're lane departure, for example, it'll actually have a little banner pop up on the screen telling you what it is. And you don't necessarily have to be in the camera source. You can be on Carplay and that'll still pop up. So it's a very seamless integration. Another really cool feature, this is one of my favorite accessories we've come out with this year, is the H02, the Rux H02 Bass Knob. So if you guys remember, before we came out with the Rux H01, it looked very similar to this. And that's pretty much just a Rux knob for our sub amps or sub channel on a 5-channel amplifier that's a direct wired connection. What this knob does, it's actually a battery powered Bluetooth knob that can be mounted anywhere, and this actually directly pairs with our new head units. And what it's going to give you is volume control as well as subwoofer volume control. And it's really easy to do. All you do is you just rotate the knob and you're doing volume. If you push down and rotate, it'll do subwoofer volume. And it's going to come with a bracket to mount on either side of the either the 9-inch or the 11-inch Halo screen. Or you can get custom and flush it in somewhere or stick it in the center console, wherever convenient for you. And this is a great option for those customers that love having a volume knob, and maybe they're old like me and they just don't like buttons. They like to turn a knob for volume. It works great, and this is a really cool add-on. The other add-on we talked about before a little bit is adding navigation. So we're gonna this is not quite out yet, just like the bass knob. I forgot to mention that. The bass knob's coming soon. This is a little bit further down the road. So we've also called this the Nav Stick. So this is just it's honestly the size of like a large flash drive. It plugs into the USB port on the radio, one of the new head units, and it'll add on navigation. What's really cool about this is, let's say you have a customer that buys that Ilx F509, and then they come in down the road and they're like, hey, I want to go ahead and get the navigation built in because I don't like using my phone, or I live in an area where my phone doesn't work that well and I just want to have navigation. All you have to do is just plug this into the USB port. Now they have nav. There's no install needed. And the reason why is because all of our radios come with GPS antennas, so those are already installed when you put in the radio. So you're already up and running, so that you can just walk outside, plug it in, and say, here you go, Mr. Customer, have a great day. Now for those, you remember on our Jeep radios, we've had the off-road nav, off-road modes where you can do the breadcrumb trail recording and all that cool stuff. That feature is also included on this. So for all the people that in trucks that would like to have that off-road nav, and they're going off-road in their, let's say their F-150 Raptor, for example, they can now have the breadcrumb trail recording on an Ilx F509 or a 511 in their truck. So that's a really cool, exciting feature for them. All right, so when I said that there were 3 radios that were new that had all those features, I actually lied. There are 5. And the reason why is because we have 2 new Jeep Restyle radios. So for the JK Wrangler, the one that we've all know and love and have worked on a million of, we've had a lot of radio and solutions for those. We were the first to offer the 9-inch weatherized radio, so this is kind of the evolution of that. So it's still just like what you're used to with the same aesthetic and upgrading the look of the dash and making it modern and really cool and with that nice 9-inch screen, and it is weatherized. But we're adding, it's all upgraded internally, so now it has the exact same features that we've been talking about. So the HD screen, the wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, multiple USB ports, the really nice EQ, multiple camera inputs, and for those of the Jeeps that want that off-road nav still, that is now optional with that Nav Stick. So for the JK guys, we still have them covered and upgraded to the new head unit, as well as the JL, including the JT Gladiator as well. So one thing that's really cool about this head unit, if you guys didn't do our previous model, on this install, it's a little more involved than the JK, but you don't have to modify the dash whatsoever. You don't have to cut a single thing. Just like all Restyle radios, it's all plug and play. It comes with the Maestro module. You just got to flash the firmware, plug everything in, bolt it down, and you're up and running. What's cool about this kit is it highly improves the look of the dash, in my opinion, as well as keeps all the stock controls functional. Like the factory volume knob is totally functional. We also include a module that actually maintains the factory backup camera, because all of these do come with a backup camera. So you get to keep that with the dynamic grid lines. And down to the bottom of the dash here, there's normally a factory USB port. We actually give you a whole new panel to put down there that gives you 2 USBs and an HDMI and an aux-in, so you can utilize all the inputs on this new head unit. And like I said, everything's included in the box and you're ready to go. Now for those that maybe want a little more budget-friendly option but upgrade their radio and their Jeep, for the JK, we've had the i407 WRA JK. Super easy install. There's no cutting, no modification required. All you got to do is pull this out of the box. It's already a harness already made. Flash the firmware in the Maestro, plug it in, and you're done. Pretty simple. And of course, you're going to gain all the features that they want, like ability to add a backup camera. Now the 407 actually has 2 camera inputs, so you can actually add a front and rear if you want to. And those are just standard RCA connections, so you can use whatever camera you want. You're going to gain HD radio and HDMI input, of course, wired CarPlay and Android Auto as well. And for the JL guys, we have them covered as well. Since this is a shallow chassis radio, it does fit inside of this dash. So you're going to gain all the same features I just talked about, including the media hub and keeping all the stock controls. And this one's also going to include stock rear camera retention module, just like the 9-inch version. So that's a more budget-friendly option for those guys with the JL or a JT. All right, moving on to the radio I think Ben's most excited about, and I'm most excited about, is the HDS 990. So this has also been referred to as the status head unit. So this is going to be the high-end audio option for people looking for the best sound quality source that they can get. So this radio is really unique because it's not necessarily a full-blown head unit or a radio. I like to look at it as more of a media player that's like a companion piece or an add-on piece to an existing system, or something you can build a system off of. So let me dive a little bit deeper into that. So starting with how the unit is physically, it is a single DIN chassis, just like any other radio, and it has a remote mounted display. So the display is a 1 DIN high mount display, not a DIN wide. It's about 2/3 of a DIN wide. And it does come with a plastic bucket that you can flush mount in somewhere. You can get creative and custom with how to mount this thing. And the single DIN chassis can be mounted, ISO mounted in a dash kit if you want to. Or it actually comes with L brackets, and you can mount it somewhere else underneath the seat or wherever you need to put it. Because you actually don't need to access this box at all for using the head unit. So it's going to have 3 USB ports. There is one on the front for those times when it is mounted and accessible. But there's also going to be 2 more USB ports on the rear. And those will be used for flash drives, external hard drives, whatever source they want to use for their high-res audio. There's also a USB DAC input, and it's actually a male USB Type A plug hanging off the back. So for those that like to offload uh, high-res files off of their phone or other kind of media player, and actually have this head unit be the external DAC, which is how you're going to get the full 24 192 bit rate out of a phone, for example. It'll allow to use the analog pre-outs of this head unit, but that has that capability. Of course, you can also put those files on a flash drive or an SSD, anything like that, plug in a USB port, and then navigate and control all of that right off of the built-in screen. You don't have to use any kind of external app or anything like that. It's real fast, real fluid. And as far as connectivity, you're going to have, just like I said before, you'll have the normal pre-outs. They're 4-volt, front, rear, and sub. You're also going to have digital, so it'll have an optical digital output as well as a coax digital output. And what's really cool about both of those outputs is they have variable volume. So you don't have to necessarily use an external DSP's volume knob if you're using digital output. You can actually just use the built-in volume knob here. And of course, it will read any kind of file type you throw at it. I have not had anything that this thing cannot read so far. It does internally sample at 24-bit 192K. If you play anything beyond that, it will still play it. It's just going to downsample it to 24 192. And that's actually the exact resolution the Status DSP runs at. And this thing's a great companion piece for that. If you want to know more about the Status DSP, we already did a video on that, and it's pretty awesome. So this another really cool thing about this head unit is it's also a way of integration into a modern car. And by that, I mean it actually has a high-level input and a high-level output. So it does have DEC power, just like any other radio. And the menu, you can turn the internal amp off if you want to. But you can actually input signal from a factory head unit into this and actually have that play through this head unit to your system. Now, why would you want to do that? Let's say you want to keep your factory Bluetooth because this head unit doesn't have a tuner. It doesn't have hands-free calling. It does have Bluetooth, and you can stream aptX HD, LDAC. It does have all that, but it doesn't do hands-free. But you want to keep the factory hands-free going. You can actually use a feature called mix sourcing, which is also available in the DSP, and where you can have this playing your music files and have your full resolution, nice high-res audio playing through your system, and you get a phone call, it'll actually sense signal from the high-level input from the factory system, and your Bluetooth call will just come right through. And when you're done, it just resumes your music just like you were. You can also do that feature in our DSP as well. But depending on the application and everything, it's just a nice flexible option for those customers that, for those really flexible installs and you want to keep a factory feature alive, it does give you that capability. So it's a really cool piece. It's really unique, and it does a little more than just be like a high-res media player. So you can really get creative with this. And moving on, so the Ilx W650, I'm sure you all are very familiar with this head unit. It is still going. So for the entry-level CarPlay Android Auto double DIN, that's what this thing is. It's great. You still have great for a little system building. You have 4-volt pre-outs. You do have the 2 camera inputs. They're just standard RCA composite, so you can hook whatever camera you want up to it. Of course, shallow chassis, so really easy installs for some dashes. And of course, power stacking. So if you guys haven't tried this yet, it's pretty awesome. You can get either one of our KTA amplifiers, KTA 450 or the 200M. The 450 being an awesome 4-channel option for getting a true RMS 50 watts by 4, and dynamically it actually is 100 watts by 4. And just a little piece of information for you guys are to internal testing. This thing is actually closer to about 120 watts dynamically per channel. This is an amazing little amplifier. So for those of you that want like a really super stealth install or a super easy add-on to get more power or a nice 4-channel install on any kind of car, this thing can just bolt right to the back of the radio. Depending on the car, you might actually even be able to power this off of the factory harness, and you're up and running. You have way more power, all just in the dash. As well as adding a sub. So if you need just a nice 200 watt RMS amplifier, you do have that as well. You do want to run an external power wire because it needs a little bit more current, but that's 200 watts RMS, 400 dynamically, and that is at 2 ohm or 4 ohm. So that's pretty exciting. That's on the 200M. And then going into the 407, this is going to be very similar to 650, but it's going to have a much different interface. It's a customizable interface. It's going to have all the same feature set otherwise of the 650. So a nicer interface. It's capable of Maestro, and it's going to have an HDMI input as well as built-in HD radio. But other than that, you can still power stack and add the amplifier to the back just like the 650. And this is a great option for those that just want a little bit more of an upgrade from the W650, or for those that really want to take advantage of the Maestro integration, or just basically they want an HDMI input. This is a great option just to get that little bit of an upgrade without having to spring all the way up to the 507. Now, do keep in mind that the 407 and the 650 are wired CarPlay and Android Auto. To get wireless, you're going to have to jump up to one of our new head units. And then just a refresher, this has been out for a little while now, the CDE 175BT. Those are still available. So that's going to be your AM, FM CD player with a real strong 5-volt pre-out. Pretty solid, great option for those that just really want a CD player. Just so you guys are aware, this might be the last one. This is not too many CD players out there anymore. So that is still out there, still kicking strong. And for those that they don't care about CD, but they just need to have a head unit that does Bluetooth or USB, we're going to have the UTE 73BT. Very similar. The only difference is it's going to be mechless, and it does not have the 5-volt pre-outs. They're just going to be a standard 2-volt pre-out. Other than that, it'll have all the features that you expect from a single DIN. So Sirius XM, Bluetooth, USB, all that good stuff. So that's pretty much it, guys.
All right.
That was my last slide. Yep, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Awesome. And I'll tell you what, I like to have a page of stuff I want to go through with you, if you're okay with that.
Okay. No problem.
Listen, first of all, I want to say congrats to the Alpine team. You guys obviously have had a lot of work. Of course, in the last 2 years, there's been some ups and downs and delays and all that. But it's nice to see that all that hard work is starting to come to fruition and materialize. Yep. And that's exciting stuff. I would be remiss if I didn't take a second to talk about this exciting new technology that you mentioned there, which is Sirius XM L, SXM L. This is something that is a unique partnership that's going on with Alpine. There's not a whole lot of information that's out about it quite yet. It's coming in, as you can see from Dan's presentation. That will be available in an upcoming update to the software. But what I can tell you, because I do happen to know somebody over at Sirius XM, this is, I think Dan mentioned the word game changer. This will totally change the user interface and experience when it comes to listening to Sirius XM. I mean, listen, Sirius XM is not a new product. It's been around for a long time. They keep it relevant by keeping the content fresh. But I think what Alpine and Sirius XM are going to show you guys when that revision is finally out, it's just going to totally step it up. And when you show a customer that, I think you're going to see the value with that. That's number one. I want to mention, I know this is a source unit show, and you mentioned it too, a little bit of ADAS, the dash cam, but that is such a unique feature / experience that you're offering with that combo. Yep. There's a lot of great dash cam companies out there. There's a lot of great source unit companies. And there's, no disrespect to any other source unit company, there are other source unit companies that have dash cams as well. But to have the notifications integrate into that giant screen, that is beyond just a blip or a beep. This is now very visual. It's interactive, and from a customer experience, it makes sense because it's kind of got that factory feel. What do you think about that, Dan?
Absolutely, and you also think of it like this. So, a lot of people, and for years now, a lot of people have been hanging on to their cars a lot longer, and you see all these new cars with all the fancy new features of driver assist and all that, and they might want that in their existing car. Now there's a kind of a way to add it pretty easily with a head unit and a dash cam, and they're getting a lot more than just the driver assist.
And if you don't mind, can we just go back to that slide, Dan, of that dash cam? I just wanted to point something out quickly for our listeners here. I mean, this dash cam, I just wanted you to remind us, which units does that dash cam is that dash cam compatible with to have those features?
So it needs to be the DVR C320R.
As far as the head
And
unit.
no, that's the dash
That's the
cam.
dash cam. Now these are
Yes.
front. Is this? I'm guessing this is a front and rear set.
Yes. So it's 1080p front and rear. And it's actually a much more stealth install. So instead of having a suction cup mount with a bunch of wires hanging off the side of the camera, this is actually like a box with a rotatable camera that you put next to your rearview mirror, and it just has one cable that runs up. It's more of a clean install too.
Now to visualize both cameras, is there a split screen or is it one at a time? How does that work?
The way it's hard to explain. So it's full screen. Think of like picture in picture. So your full screen will be your front, and then your picture in picture, like in the corner, will be the rear. That's by default. And then if you want to see one or the other, you just tap on the image of the one you want to see, and it goes to full screen.
And does it offer any playback control?
Yes.
Oh wow!
So when you go into the main menu, you can go into the previous recordings, and they'll all be listed out.
But instead of looking at, like, my dash cam is pretty small, so the screen is pretty tiny to see the review.
Yeah.
The playback.
You can see it all. You can see it full screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, the reason why I want to bring this up, dealers, if you have a customer that wants that ultimate, like, premier OE experience when it comes to dash cam, I feel this is it right there. So just wanted to bring that up.
It's pretty awesome.
If you don't mind sliding over to the new Jeep kits, I definitely want to take a second to talk about this.
Yes.
Jeeps is such a big category. Man, Alpine has invested so much resources into creating what you see in front of you right here. I wanted to make sure our viewers understood what came with the kit, because I've heard, but the Alpine kit's so expensive. Hold on a second. I want to just rewind, guys. We're not just talking about the screen. They've gone and tooled the entire casing and frame that goes around that screen. No, that's not from Jeep. That's from Alpine. They've retooled all that. And if you go to the next slide, Dan was talking about all the plugs in the bottom. Not only have they redone the plugs in a beautiful way, they've added more inputs for you to have access to. And more importantly than that, all the plastics are included in the kit. It's plug and play. Dude, don't forget, there's an iData Link Maestro included in this kit. That's part of the price. So when you're saying that it's expensive, do your research. Look at the box. What is included in this kit? Because really, when you're explaining that to the customer, it makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
I just
the other thing to add on top of that is the harnesses are already pre-made. They're already tested taped. They're already done. You don't have to make them.
No splicing.
No splicing whatsoever. It's all when we say, as an installer, I always had friends tell me their devices are plug and play. Oh, but you got to cut in these two wires.
Yes.
So I always laughed at the phrase plug and play. These are actual real plug and play.
Legit. You've installed one, haven't you, yourself?
Yes. Both of them. And I will tell you, the other thing that is nice is, on top of us creating all the plastic molding and giving you all the nice trim pieces, all the mounting hardware for everything is all metal. So you don't have to worry about it's not a cheap plastic kit. It's all metal, and it just bolts right in. It's real solid. It's not going to wiggle, move on you or anything like that. Because we know how the Jeep customer is. They like to abuse their ride. So we want to make sure that whatever you're putting in is not going to fall out or break on them. So it's going to be real solid.
And no, none of us have ever experienced putting together a kit and one plastic clip breaks and you can't finish it. So,
That's right.
That really sucks. And last but not least, to close my comments on this piece, which I feel is just like next level, it is weatherized.
Yes.
I repeat, it is weatherized. All right. This is a very clutch. I don't know about you, but every Jeep owner I know kind of likes the top off. That's all I'm saying. I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
Okay. I've saved the best for last. You know where you need to go. Get to that slide.
Yeah, I'm already know what slide to go to.
All right.
Here.
So, first of all, for the record, you had me at chiclets. No doubt about it. That just blast from the past brings me right back to my youth. I dreamed of having an Alpine, radio in my car with chiclets. So, kudos for the design team for putting that. I am curious, however, why didn't they build a cradle into the faceplate of the box so that you can clip that on there?
Well, the reason why is because we know that a lot of cars nowadays, you can't even change the radio. So if we made it as a normal single den, it would actually be hard we wouldn't be able to go into as many cars. With it being a broken away like this, the possibilities are endless. I know the install I did on our Tundra, we have a 511, so I actually mounted this radio with ISO mounted in the dash kit because it's all the Halo screens are a single DIN mount, which I didn't even bring up. So they can go. They can easily mount it
That's
any
kind of
dash
an
kit.
important point. Yeah, you don't need double
Yeah.
DIN space to put in those Halo kits. It's a single DIN.
That's right. So if you happen to sell this with a Halo, just mount it ISO mounted in the dash kit, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to put it. And then I actually put the I actually molded it into the top of the headliner by the sunglass holder and by the dome light.
Gotcha.
So it's not yes.
If I was Dan Greenwood, I'd have like the biggest Halo model up on top, and right under it would be this piece instead of a tray, correct? In a double DIN space.
Yeah, depending on the vehicle, how it fits in there, but yeah.
Okay. Now, I need to understand a few things. You mentioned it. I want clarity. Explain to me again how I'm supposed to integrate this piece into my OE system. So let's say I have a fancy car. I love my dash. I don't want to change it, but I'm really not digging my streaming quality. So this is an option here. Tell me how.
It's gonna depend on the vehicle now, because it depends on what kind of signal you have to work with. But I did talk about the high level input. So those that are familiar with installing DSPs and integration, there's high level inputs on a lot of DSPs, and they're going to be like, for example, the status DSP has 12 high level inputs. So you can take a factory amplifier and do whatever summing you need to do to get a full range output. Now let's say this is only going to be 4 inputs, and it's just going to pass them through. It's not a full blown DSP, but let's say you want to keep that Bluetooth hands-free functionality.
CarPlay.
Right?
I like my factory CarPlay.
Yeah, and your factory CarPlay. Yeah. Yeah. And as long as you have full range output, you can pipe that through here and then just have this one connection to your DSP. Or if you're not running a DSP, you just want a good source, you don't care about DSP, but you have amplifiers, you have good speakers and a sub, you can use this as your middleman and have that go through. Like I said, it's super niche, but it's there for, just for those times when you need it.
Very interesting that there's options in the way you system build this, or do it in steps even. So just so I understand from a system build standpoint, let's say I'm using my factory radio. Where does this integrate now into my DSP, whether it's a standalone or I have an integrated piece, regardless of the brand?
Well, okay, so into the DSP, so that's going to be where, depending on the DSP, so it depends on how you want to hook this up, because you do have the analog and optical and digital coax outputs. So,
well, most standalone DSPs, most ones have an optical in. Can I use that to put this into?
Yeah, absolutely.
I see. So
we do recommend an Alpine DSP, of course.
Of course you do. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why, because there's another feature I was going to hold off and tell you about.
Okay.
This actually has a pigtail to plug into our current DSPs, so you can actually control the DSP on the screen as well.
Oh, that's a dirty trick.
Yeah.
When you say pigtail, like a proprietary Alpine connector?
So for those of you that have installed like the 850X or the X09, we have this little 4-pin DIN cable that comes off the USB cable that goes to the computer, that our controller that is included with those DSPs comes with. This radio also has that pigtail, so you can actually use this instead of the controller that comes with those DSPs, and it'll be a sub menu in there.
So
this will be the controller.
Because I keep forgetting this one has its own display right there. Okay, yes.
Yep. You just go into it. There's a separate menu called Alpine System, and you just go in there, and then that's your DSP.
Because then I was thinking, man, now I'm gonna have to find a place for 2 knobs somewhere in my dash.
No need.
Not if I had this piece first. It would suck if I started with the DSP amp and put DSP and then added this, and I'm like, one extra DSP for nothing. But anyways.
And the other thing that's cool is you can go in, like I said, with the a lot of people are going to want to use the digital outputs of this, because it's not a very common feature in any radio right now, and the fact that the volume is variable is awesome, because that's going to make it so much easier to use.
Take a second, Dan, and explain to us why that's important.
So, and the reason why, if you, let's say, generally if you use any kind of media player, any kind of source that has an optical output, that optical output is full tilt, full volume all the way. And it's because it's a direct digital output of whatever source you're reading. And because it was originally designed to have it go to like a home audio receiver, for example, and that's going to be your volume control. Now, we kind of adopted that in car, but let's say you don't want to have that extra volume knob, right, because it's going to go to a DSP. You have to use that one little knob for your main system volume. You can actually use this head unit volume as well. It said so. It's you don't have to go and make sure to turn your DSP volume down, switch source to digital, and then turn up your radio so you can hear. You don't have to do all that. You just turn it on, it just plays, and you're done.
Does that mean if I hook this thing up to the status DSP, I also have subwoofer control in that same knob?
We're working on that.
Oh, see. But that could be just a future software update.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Dude, I'm gonna say it right here. That is like so ultimate. I don't even know how to begin. It is for the guy. Like if you are into investing money into maximizing every penny you put into your sound system and every ounce of sweat that went into installing that sound system, whether it's the wires or the sound damping or whatever it is that you've done, man, nothing is as important as the source, because your sound system is only going to play whatever you feed it. And this, I have not seen another unit on the market that does what this thing does, nor does it have the capability to integrate the way that this thing does. And did I hear it has an amplifier built in?
Yeah, so if you want to run this thing as your head unit to your speakers, you can. So it does have traditional deck power. And for those of you that are asking, I think I mentioned it before, but you can in the menu turn off the internal amp if you don't want to use it.
192.24, eh? Very nice. Very nice. I'm spent. You got me. Nima, I'm going to leave it to you. Anything that you wanted to mention from this presentation?
No, awesome. Thanks, Dan, for sharing all that information. As you can see, we got the status head unit coming out. We've already had our 500 series head units, the 507, F509, and the 511, which are awesome radios. And what I really like about all of these radios is that they can expand to do more than what they just do out of the box. So hook up a dash cam, do multi-angle front camera, back camera, add a knob for your volume control, and
might I say a very slick wireless battery powered Bluetooth knob.
Exactly.
Yep.
You can do custom installs. You can just do a straight add-on, and it gives you the option of mounting it right on the screen. So there's definitely multiple different
amplifiers in the back, Nima.
That's right. And then when you go to the KTA amplifiers that are proprietary to get mounted to the back of the W650 or the 407, or
actually they're not. You don't have to mount them.
You don't have
to. They can be used in other installs too.
That's right. It comes with two different mounting bracket options.
Right.
So universal or proprietary to those two brand models. So overall, when it comes to those two amplifiers, I would say it's a better buck for the installer and the customer to use the new KTA amplifiers versus the KTP amplifiers. They have the newer technology in it, more power, and it's just a win-win situation to go with KTAs going forward.
Very cool. Dad, last word, anything for you to wrap up the final message to dealers who might be tuning in?
Nothing other than thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble. It's like I said, we're really excited about all the new stuff we have coming out, and we hope you guys are too.
Dan, on that note, I saved this for the end. I'm going to be just as nerdy as you. I'm going to finish your sentence by saying light emitting.
Yes, light emitting diode.
Thanks so much, Dad, for coming in. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Talk to me, Nima. There's a lot of goodies that I talked about. I know he mentioned a couple certain things like the Nav Stick and the Bluetooth knob was, a little bit down the pipe. How about everything else we covered?
Yeah, so pretty much our Drive Dash Cam is available right now. The knob is on its way. And just a little bit down the road, we'll have the Nav Stick. That Nav Stick is going to be a game changer. Again, another innovative piece from Alpine where you can expand without having to replace hardware. And it's what I love about this Nav Stick is that, let's say if there's a his and hers car in the family, and they both have a Alpine unit, you can take that Nav Stick from one vehicle to another and plug it in. So you don't need to invest in two different Nav Sticks. So you can share that with a family member. So it's well thought.
I'm gonna ask HTS 990, that sick, ridiculous piece. When is? Do we have a timeline on that yet?
It would be more towards later this year.
Later this year.
That's right. That's what we're aiming. We're aiming to get it out before the end of the year. Yes.
Fantastic. Very innovative piece. Thanks, Nima. Thanks for booking Dan. Thanks for bringing Alpine to Canada. And I'm going
Thanks
to
for
put up the
having us
digits
on the show.
Well, hey, if you're interested in anything you heard about today, make sure you check out the website, alpine-usa.com. They keep it always up to date and fresh. And if you're in Canada, get a hold of Nima and his team over at Gentech International. They are the exclusive distributor for Alpine in Canada and got you covered. Thank you so much. Take care, Nima.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right. That was an awesome session all about Alpine and all the new goodies. I told you from the start, tons of new product, and that is exciting stuff. That certainly makes this host very, very happy. All right. We're still into source units, guys, and I want you to keep it locked here at CMA Networks. Every day we're featuring another brand in the source unit category. Make sure you keep it locked to CMA Networks right through till Thursday, August 11th. And if you haven't already, how dare you, look for more videos on Alpine or other product videos from Gentech on CMAnetworks.com. We got you covered from everything from remote start all the way to DSP. CMAnetworks.com is where it's at. Thanks for tuning in and sticking with us on the CMA Connected presented by Sirius XM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Yo, roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?